Hmm. Freedom has no requirements. Freedom doesn't require that you go sit anywhere. It doesn't require that you believe anything or disbelieve anything. It doesn't require that you think anything. In fact, if there's thinking, then there's still a resistance to freedom. Not that thinking can't be, or that it doesn't arise or come and go, or not that you can't use it as needed or as wanted. But to confuse freedom with thinking about freedom, or idealizing about freedom, or philosophizing or speculating about freedom, isn't freedom. Freedom allows for the possibility of thought, philosophization, uh, speculation, but freedom itself is free from the need to philosophize or speculate. Freedom can't be found through philosophizing or through speculating or through hypothesizing or through talking about it. Freedom is only found in the silence that is the presence of freedom itself, and this can only be known by surrendering to it. So you can drop all of your shackles. You can let the load off. You really don't have to carry around all sorts of spiritual ideas in the brain which end up corrupting it and rotting it and really making one inhospitable to life. It can be really tempting or easy because of the nature of mind to make an idea of freedom or to make an idea about enlightenment, about spirituality and what that's supposed to mean, especially around people, coming into groups with other people. And that urge to be accepted, to fit in, to find a group, to find community. And when you first, if you do, come into a so-called spiritual community where people are, well, maybe not knowing what they want, but if you know what you want, if you've decided what you want, if what you want is freedom or love, let's just call it freedom for now, and you decide that you want freedom, and you go into a spiritual group or community looking for that freedom, if it's your very first time, you'll be fresh. And you won't be contaminated with the notion of all of the politics and the stuff that goes on in spiritual circles. And so you very free to ask questions, to say what you see, to report, to share your experience. But if you make it a habit of going over and over and over again to a space, you begin to notice how certain things in the space operate. And very soon, you notice that there's kind of a rigid performance of freedom or a rigid performance of enlightenment, where there's really only room for a very superficial display of behaviors, attitudes, words, sentiments, and the like. And when you authentically move or express something from the deep, you often find that very little space can be had for it, or there's very little room to meet it. And upon encountering this fear or this resistance in groups, there's that tendency to then to hold back, to not speak, to want to not look difficult, or to want to not look unenlightened, or to want to not look unevolved or unconscious or whatever, or unspiritual, or whatever the group lingo is. And so then consciousness or freedom or spirituality or enlightenment becomes a sort of play. It becomes a game that we start playing, that people start playing. And it becomes a block for the real thing. And then we speak less than honestly. We don't actually often speak then from the forefront of our own awareness, from the forefront of our own consciousness. We're hanging back a couple of steps, giving something other than what it is we're really thinking or feeling or perceiving or wanting. And, when you come to this place, that's when it's kind of the do or die moment. Will you take freedom, or will you surrender to freedom, or will you just recapitulate? The old chapters, the old stories, the old narratives, or really take the risk of stepping out and losing it all to be free. Because that's the requirement. It really takes stepping out and losing it all. That means you have to be willing to lose your image or your posturing of being enlightened or being conscious or being spiritual. Lose the rigidity, to shake off the shackles inwardly, in order to really say what you want and to say what you feel. And if somebody doesn't hear you, they misunderstand, clarify. Clarify. Don't be afraid to clarify. Don't be afraid to say, no, that's not what I meant. Or, no, that's not what I'm saying. Without fear, without needing to go into aggression and combative behavior. It's not necessary. You can simply say, no, that's not what I meant, or that's not what I said, or that's not what I'm saying. Or you can say, yeah, whatever. You can say yes, you can say no, you can say stop. You can get up and leave. You're not under any obligation to sit anywhere. And then the mind can say, well, if I get up and leave, is it honest? If I get up and leave, is it just, the ego reacting and being afraid of, well, that's for you to discern in the moment. Maybe you get up for the right reason, maybe you get up for the wrong reason. Either way, it's learning. You're learning, and that's the point. That's the point. Being in freedom means learning. It means surrendering, not just yesterday or 10 years ago, or it means surrendering to the presence of the moment over and over and over and over and over again. It's not something that you do once and you have done it and then it's done. It's a perpetual surrendering. And that means a continuing coming into vulnerability. And vulnerability then is seen to mean, or to be, the act of sharing really in the raw what's coming up, without filtering, without editing, without cutting, without minimizing or belittling or talking down, and at the same time not needing to go into the psychosocially corrective mode of being aggressive and confrontational in one's... Do you know what I mean by confrontational? I don't mean to imply there's something wrong with meeting something head on, but when we are habituated to feeling unseen, unheard, misunderstood, and we find ourselves in a situation where we are being misunderstood or not heard, or we feel that we're not being heard, we feel that we're not being seen, it can be very easy to then, rather than simply from a deep sense of inner, I was going to say tranquility, but really, which is really trust. Peace is really trust. Peace is not an artificial suppression of one's naturalness. Peace is really a deep trust in the intelligence of being, the intelligence of awareness, of consciousness. And so, which includes one's body, trusting your body, trusting, I was going to say trusting the mind, not in the sense of believing the thoughts. It's not about, trust and belief are not the same thing, but we conflate the two. Trust is simply seeing that what's there is what's there and not resisting it. So trusting trusting the peace, trusting the awareness. And so if I say something and you don't understand, I can say, no, that's not what I said, or that's not what I meant. Here's what I said. Here's what I meant. Let me clarify. Without having to inwardly take a defensive stance and then come out as aggressive because I'm afraid that I won't be understood and that therefore people won't see me in the proper light and that I'll lose my social status as, oh, well, I thought he was enlightened, I guess not, or he's supposed to be spiritual and apparently not, right? All of that can just go in the face of freedom, in the face of trust, where there's presence, where there's peace, where there's freedom, and surrendering, being aware that freedom is always here, and the surrender to that, and seeing that everything else is just thought, everything else is just the story. So you're free to sit still without moving, if that's deeply what feels good, or by which I mean if that's deeply what feels natural to the body. You don't have to contrive anything. If you want to dance, dance. If you want to move, move. If you want to sit, sit. If you want to speak, speak. If you don't want to speak, don't speak. You don't have to plan ahead, worried about looking foolish or not looking foolish, or being perceived as enlightened or being perceived as unenlightened, being perceived as spiritual, being perceived as unspiritual. The worry and the fear about maintaining an image or a mode of presentation or performance can just go. There's finally no need for it. In the presence of freedom, there's simply being. There's being. And all questions about who and what you are vanish. And you're almost left with this, well, what am I doing here? And not even necessarily as a question, but you sort of see the ridiculousness of everything kind of leading up to this point. And then you can get up and run away, or you can jump into action, or you can sit and just be with the presence. And anyway, at some point, supposedly, you'll jump up into action, unless you have your final moment right here. So there's no need to worry about anything, because everything will get done. Something arises, you say yes. Something arises, you say no. Without the need to attack or defend. It's not about attacking or defending. You simply say no or yes. And there's no need to defend either position or to explain either position, because freedom is causeless. Freedom has no cause. You don't have to justify freedom. You don't have to justify peace. You don't have to explain joy. You don't have to explain truth, and you can't explain it. You can't explain it. And so finally, it's really coming to the reality of what it is you really want. What do you want? What do you really want? And what you want is freedom itself. What you want is joy. What you want is love. Really, it's love. And love includes all of that peace. I mean, real peace, not the peace of, you know, meek pacification in the sense of numbing and subduing, but genuine peace, which is not stiff or constrained. Peace is not constrained. There's no constraint on peace. There's no constraint on love. There's no constraint on freedom. There's no constraint on joy. And it takes care of itself, so there doesn't have to be. It's totally free and therefore totally unknown. So all of the ideas about it, all of the psychological steps that or educational steps that were taken to get to that point can all be let go of. And so it becomes, I think, more psychologically difficult to do it the more knowledge and information one gathers and gleans toward the end of freedom. You know, you could sit around doing Buddhist studies or Zen studies or Sufi studies or shamanic studies or whatever, you know, Christian study. It doesn't matter. Any particular cultural traditional mode of study. You could study general religion. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You can study psychology. You can study philosophy. I mean, you can study these things all day long for years and years and years, and it means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. Freedom is simply here. It's just here. And there's no need to contrive it or force it or justify it or explain it. And so you don't need to, if you enjoy studying language, then study language. But you do it because you enjoy it, not because you're trying to get something from it. You enjoy it, that's all. You don't know what it's going to come in handy for. It may not. It may just go away. It doesn't matter. But you enjoy it. So if you're trying to study Buddhist studies or philosophy or theology or cosmology because you're trying to impress some Buddhist group, or you think that it's going to get you closer to enlightenment or closer to freedom, or, whatever, it's not. It's a toy. When the Buddha was live and speaking, he was responding live to people's inquiries and people's questions in order to bring them back to the silent stillness of who they are, which is freedom, which is compassion, which is joy, which is truth, which is peace. And then people have went and made images out of it, psychological images, and then get stuck in the thought, stuck in the concept, stuck in the abstractions, and think that before they can get enlightened, they have to memorize all the content, the information. It doesn't work like that. There's nothing to do for enlightenment. There's nothing to do for awakening. There's nothing to do for any of it. Awakening is not something that happens once you learn the New Age information about the fifth dimension, right? Or, what's the difference between the fourth and the sixth dimensions? If you're a technicalist, if you're a mechanic, then you know how to fix a car. You know what the mechanics are. But so what? You don't have to be a mechanic to drive a car. And whether you know the Buddhist knowledge or the Islamic knowledge or the Christian knowledge or the Zen knowledge or the Taoist knowledge or the New Age knowledge, it makes no difference. It makes no difference. Do you believe in aliens? It makes no difference. It has nothing to do with anything. Freedom is freedom. Peace is peace. Joy is joy. Aliens or no aliens. extra dimensions or no extra dimensions. It's that every dimension that exists in support of freedom and peace. Any extraterrestrial civilization or dimension that exists in support of freedom and peace. Any genuine teacher or teaching exists in support of freedom and peace and love. The real thing is to find the real thing. The words about it come as a result of the absence of the real thing. When the real thing is here, and there's no need to talk about it. You just enjoy it. You just bask in it. You surrender to it. And miraculously, from the depths of this surrender can come great pointing in the form of words and ideas and concepts. But the maturity of realization, of self-perception, is the realization that all of those words and all of those concepts come from freedom and return to freedom, and that they're not freedom itself, and that they're simply a vehicle. They're simply just like the finger. The words are simply pointing. If I want you to notice something, I say, hey, look at that. I don't then keep my finger pointing at it indefinitely. I say, hey, look, and then put it down. It's done. And so the words are what they are because what they're pointing to is omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent. Omnidimensional, everywhere. And so nowhere in particular. And all words have a direction. Basically. Because they're form. And so using form to point toward the formless is basically an impossible task. And yet, that's essentially what's happening when we're speaking about love, when we're speaking about freedom, when we're speaking about peace, when we're speaking about joy. There's this attempt to use words to do what words are not capable of doing. And so it requires very skillful use of the words, sometimes called skillful means, right? There's no reference to, but it's a good phrase, skillful means. And skillful means cannot be employed unless inwardly one is totally surrendered to the stillness and the silence of freedom. Which means no expectation, no goal. You trust that freedom speaks for itself, that freedom, that peace, that joy, that love takes care of itself, which it does. So to be in it and to be a vehicle, a vessel for the transmission of it without feeling the need to, while recognizing that you can't give it to anybody, it can only be surrendered to. So there's no need in terms of feeling to get anybody or to make anybody to understand it, because it can't be understood. You can't make anybody understand it. Someone either is ready and willing to surrender to it or not. Done. Period. So there's no need for anything. You don't have to, wear any kinds of particular clothing. You don't have to have your hair or your beard any kind of way. Piercings, no piercings, tattoos, no tattoos, whatever, natural hair, colored hair. You like Chinese, you like Korean, you like Mexican, Italian, whatever. It's inconsequential to freedom. It's inconsequential to peace. It's inconsequential. And the freedom is a very profound intelligence, and in it you see, whoa, I don't need to be, I don't need to look for anything. There's nothing to look for. There's not, you can put down all the illusions. You can put down all of the ideas, the notions, the chasings. You don't have to endlessly watch YouTube videos. You don't have to endlessly watch all these spiritual stuff. You don't have to deal with astrology and tarot cards and divination. You don't have to do any of that. You don't have to watch all of the, you don't have to go through, memorizing the Stoic laws or memorizing the Eightfold Path or memorizing the scientific procedures of yoga or the Taoist sciences. If you enjoy that kind of thing, then enjoy it. If you enjoy classical cultural modes of exposition and articulation, beautiful. But you do it because you enjoy it, not because you think, if I do enough of this, then I'll get free, then I'll be at peace, then I'll know truth, then I'll... It's simpler than that. It's so much simpler than that. The real thing is right here, right now. And then if you want to sit in silent darkness for days on end, then do it. It's fine. Do it because you want to, because you really want to. Do what you do because you really want to do it. Not because you think that you're going to get something from it or it's going to be beneficial or that you're doing it so that. You do it because you want to do it. You speak because you want to speak, not because it's going to get you something. You understand what I'm saying? You wear what you want to wear because it's what you want to wear. You style yourself the way you want to style yourself because it's the way you want to style yourself. Not because it's going to get you attention or fame or recognition or because it'll make you attractive to so-and-so or so-and-so or because it'll make you look spiritual or not spiritual or you want to look punky enough or goth enough or preppy enough or whatever enough. You look the way you want to look because it's the way you want to look. Done. Done. No justification, no reason, totally free. No need to be attached, addicted to social media. Thinking that you're going to miss out. What's everybody doing? Just all of that. You see really quickly through the posturing. You see really quickly through the pyramid schemes. You see really quickly through how there's no need to ask a question. There's no need to keep trying to find a new group to fit into. There's no need to get anybody's attention. There's no need to do anything other than to share being, than to share presence, than to share love, than to share light, than to share peace, to share joy, and to live in that totally and completely and wholeheartedly, which is really to love what you love, to really love, and to really love what you love wholeheartedly, whether it gets you anything or doesn't get you anything, whether you're recognized or not recognized, whether you're seen or not seen, because finally, ultimately, what you are can't be seen. You're not an object to be seen. So no matter how you decorate yourself or don't decorate yourself, you cannot be seen. What you are cannot be seen. But whoever knows themselves as that which cannot be seen, when you two meet one another, you will recognize one another and deeply see one another as your own self, however you look or don't look. So be comfortable in yourself. Just, that's all. That's what it is. Plain and simple. Love the truth. Love truth. Don't worry about doing anything, and you'll find what to do. What needs to be done will present itself. All of our doing, the vast majority of our doing, if not all of it, comes from wanting to create and sustain a certain image of ourselves, of wanting to protect something that we don't want to feel, don't want to reveal, trying to reach some goal that we think is going to make us happy or bring fulfillment or attract love, companionship. And none of that is freedom. None of that begets freedom. None of that brings about peace. None of that brings about joy. Maybe temporary elation, but as you know, that's gone again. Joy is causeless. Peace is causeless. Freedom is causeless. Love is causeless. It's not because of anything. Freedom is not because of anything. Peace is not because of anything. Joy, truth, love, freedom are not because of anything. They are. The self is not because of anything. It is. It just is. And if you don't know it now, if you're not willing to surrender to it now in this moment, it's not going to be the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It's not going to be there when you get enough money, when you have enough sex, when you have a big enough house, or the right kind of job, or the right kind of friends, or you've got to be all of that. If you want freedom, surrender to freedom. If you want joy, surrender to joy. If you want love, surrender to love. And then be love, be peace, be freedom, be joy, because you are. You are. And then you stop running around looking for it everywhere all the time, and you see that most of what you're doing, in terms of everything, is a vain attempt to grasp what can never be grasped. And so when you come to the real thing, you can simply put the vanity down. You stop chasing things without purpose. You stop living falsely. And then, boom. Who knows what you'll do? But what you will do naturally is share. You'll share, and you'll share what is needed. And that'll take you God knows where. You can't even predict it. Don't even try. Don't even try. Don't even try. Don't even try to predict it. Don't even try to... Don't. Just don't. That doesn't mean that you don't pay attention when you're driving. It just means you have no idea where the road goes. And there's absolutely nothing you can do to predict it. Freedom is open. Let it use you. Let love use you. Surrender your life to freedom. Surrender your life to truth. Surrender your life to being. Surrender your life to God. That's what I call creation or consciousness. Surrender your life to the source of everything. Surrender your life to peace. Surrender your life to love. Surrender your life to this intelligence. Where is it going to go? I don't know, but it's going to be great. Because freedom is great. Peace is great. Whatever peace does with this one will be beautiful. Is beautiful already. Because peace is beautiful. Whatever freedom does with this one will be beautiful. Because it is beautiful. Because freedom is beautiful. It is beauty. It's such a gift. It's the gift of gifts. To be totally free. And to continue surrendering moment to freedom. Surrendering to presence. And not taking it for granted. really not taking it for granted. And then getting lost in rote repetitive practices because we take it for granted. And then think we have to do something to maintain it or sustain it. As opposed to, if you want to chant, if you want to do mantras, if you want to do zikr, if you want to sing songs, you do it out of the depth of love, of your being, of your heart. So that you're not chanting to get something, or you're not singing to get something, but you're singing as an outpouring of your love and of your joy. You're praying as an expression of gratitude, you're not praying to get something. You're praying because you love to give thanks. You're praying because you love to express gratitude, because it feels so damn good to just give thanks and express gratitude and love and joy for being here. You don't meditate to get something. You meditate because meditation is so beautiful. You sit here in the raw wonder and the awe of being because it's so fucking beautiful. That's all. And you live your life in service of that. And you see it's always, even when you weren't aware of it, it was guiding you and loving you and protecting you and keeping you safe and keeping everything going. It's always with you. It's what owns your life anyway. It's what runs and controls your life anyway. So you might as well consciously surrender to it. It makes everything that much easier and simpler. And more enjoyable and more beautiful and totally inexplicable. And yet, you can't, there's no fear. There's no fear. There's no fear. And you can't explain it. If you tried to explain it, to who would you explain it? To someone who's afraid. It's got nothing to do with time. And yet all time belongs to it and comes from it and returns to it. So it's just surrendering to the source of everything. There's nothing to lose. Really, you've got to be willing to lose everything. But everything you lose turns out to be nothing. Turns out to be absolutely nothing in the face of the depth of this reality, of being, of what is. Pure love, pure joy, pure peace. And then just sit with it indefinitely. Who cares? There's no need, when I say who cares, I don't mean that in a nonchalant, blasé way. I mean deeply. There's no attachment to pleasing satisfying any images anymore. So however long it takes, you just sit and be quiet. Don't worry about where it's going. Just sit and be quiet. And if you have tasks to perform, perform your tasks in awareness of this love and in this freedom. Whatever you've got to do. And if you've simply got to sit, then sit. And you'll see deeply that what you want is to share, and deeply that which wants to express itself through you from the place of this love will naturally arise. If it's dance that comes out, so be it. If it's song that comes out, so be it. If it's writing, so be it. If it's speaking, so be it. If it's engineering, if it's whatever, it makes no difference. It makes no difference. Because whatever is done from this love and from this freedom and this joy is beautiful. And so it's the freedom itself that moves you, that does everything through you. Which is not the ego identifying with it and saying, well, I'm free, so everything I do is from freedom, so therefore just let me. No, 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 no. It's simpler than that. Nothing has to be contrived. Here I am, talking to you. Miraculously, spontaneously. In the dark. And yet, there's such a light here. And here we are together. It's beautiful. So, I really encourage you to just surrender to the immediacy of this eternal presence without contriving it, without listening to the mind. And whatever stuff of the mind comes up, let it come up, but see it as you would see any physical fixture before you. And continue allowing freedom and peace and love and joy to move you, to speak through you. Whatever arises, whatever happens. Renew, surrender is renewed every moment. It's refreshed every moment. It's never old, it's never the past, wow. It's never stale or stagnant. It doesn't try to fix an image of itself. It just carries on, carrying on. It takes care of everything. It nourishes everything. It loves everything. It even nourishes and loves that which doesn't even recognize it. Oh. It's so it's more than magnanimous. It's the mother of everything. It's so beautiful. Wow. And it's just such a gift. It's such grace to know it, to have the opportunity to surrender to truth, to beauty, to joy. To love. There. Oh, I think I like it better without the light on, actually. May you know the freedom, the joy, the peace of the source of creation. The peace of your own being. Know it. May you surrender to it. And surrender to it. Not that I'm telling you what to do, but ultimately you don't have a choice. It's here anyway. It's all there is anyway. There's nothing but this. There's nothing but that. So you can surrender to it or you can resist it. It's up to you. But surrender to it gracefully takes you on where you need to go. And resistance to it will find you ultimately in the same place anyway, just being miserable on the way there. So, you're heading where you're heading. And you don't know where you're heading. But you're going there anyway. So you can go joyfully or you can go miserably. It's up to you. I recommend surrendering to joy, to peace, to love, to truth. It's so simple. It sounds simple. It is simple. And yet, in the simplicity of it, everything is revealed. Everything is revealed. In the simplest of ways. And even when you see the complexity of certain problems, social problems and relationship problems, in the simplicity you see through the veil of the apparent complexity. And you see it's simply a matter of, is the person with me? One, am I willing to surrender to peace, to joy, to love, to freedom? And are you willing to surrender to peace, to joy, to freedom, to love? Are you willing? And you see that's what relationship is about. That's the crux of relationship. And if there's no surrender to love, there's no relationship. If there's not a surrender to freedom, there's no relationship. There's just politicking, masquerading as relationship, which is just hostage holding, hostage taking. And freedom is freedom from holding hostages, from taking hostages. It's not conditional. I love you if you give me affection, if you play with me, if you give me what I want, if you meet my needs, if you, all, just, it's gone. It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. It's fucking gone. It's gone. It's gone. There's no, and who cares how you got here? It's gone. There's no need to feel any kind of way. No need to feel anything. You can feel everything or nothing, but there's no need to feel indebted. There's no need to feel like you owe anybody anything, somebody something. It's not about owing. It's about I love you, I love. And this love itself is an eternal outpouring of itself to itself. Giving. And in that you see yes, no, and stop. You see when enough is enough. You see there's a cliff. I don't want to drive over the cliff. No intention of driving over the cliff. You see? So it is intoxicating, but it's also totally sobering. You're both sober and high, if you want to say that, at the same time. There is an element of ecstasy to it. There is an element of just, you can say intoxication again if you'd like. You know, it's an all right word, but there's an incredibly salient sobriety to it. And it's just inexplicable. Literally. Not because of a lack of capacity for articulation. The most gifted linguist, the most brilliant student of language could never, ever, ever articulate this in a way that's satisfactory. It's beyond articulation. And that's not an exaggerated statement. And so, finally, all form, linguistic, corporeal, all form is here to serve this beautiful freedom, this beautiful love, this beautiful joy, this peace, this intense compassion, this love. All form is here to serve love. Everything is here to serve love. You could say to worship love. And Love is God. God is love, is this freedom, is this peace. And everything bows in its presence. It's impossible not to. Unless the heart has become so insensitive and, cold and turned to stone. Otherwise, it's impossible. Impossible not to surrender, not to serve. Yes. I love stretching. I love really getting into my body and just working everything out and moving slowly and letting everything snap, crackle, and pop and Oh, fuck, yes. It's sorry. It's just so, I don't know. I could say freeing, gratifying, but it's an imperative. The body really likes to be taken care of. Naturally, it likes to be, the body loves to be loved. And allowing yourself to slowly just come into just the depths of your own body is how the body keeps itself healthy and healed and whole and alive. So brush your teeth, floss, wash your face, wash behind your ears, clean your ass, do your laundry, wear fresh clothes, wear clean clothes, wear dirty clothes if you want to, whatever, but, take care of yourself. Really take care of the body. Put food in it that makes it feel good. Don't eat what makes your body hurt or upset. Drink water. Drink what you like, but, feel how the body is responding to the way that you treat it, and then treat it better. Really treat it right. Treat the body with love and compassion. Not for anything. Don't worry about want to look like this or want to look like, just do what is right and natural to the body. If you want to lift weights, lift weights. If you want to do yogasana, do yogasana. If you want to do qigong, tai chi, do it. If you want to practice martial arts, do it. But do it because it feels right. Do it because it feels right. Because it feels, good, deeply. Good means whole. Do it because it's the right, it feels right, deeply in every way. Do it because it helps facilitate the light entering you, to put it like that. As an expression of freedom. Do it because you love it. It's so silly how we have all of these phrases and all of these words and these concepts or these teachings that come to us, which are really, literally, it's an understatement to even say lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes of awareness and wisdom and perception. Really, the potency of the whole cosmos culminating in the simple phrase, do what you love, or love what you do, or just love. And these are why these phrases proliferate, but then it's of course so easy to take them and create psychological uh, abnormalities or distortions out of them. Because obviously the real thing isn't words, it's deeper than that. But being creatures that use words, we have ways of compressing things into bite-sized wordables, and they can therefore easily get distorted. But when you see it, and then you see why all of the ancient ones and the old masters have said what they've said: love, peace, compassion, joy, freedom. And you see, honor. I mean, you see dignity. I mean, you see the meaning of all of this. Sovereignty. Being a living image of the universe, of the cosmos, of the Buddha, of God. Being a living image of that. Of joy, of peace, of truth. It's what you are anyway. And so you can simply surrender to the truth of what you are. Anyway, you can't not be what you are. And then so what? Who cares? If anybody sees you as spiritual or not spiritual, as enlightened or unenlightened, that's all secondary, tertiary. It's not important. What's important is that you're living in the joy of truth and the joy of freedom. That's what matters. Everything else, forget it. That all comes or it doesn't come, but what will come naturally. It's the same trap to live your life in order to look enlightened to somebody else, or even to yourself, as it is to live your life to look wealthy or to look successful in the business world or the academic world or the scientific world or the artistic world, whatever. Living your life to look a certain way. Living your life to look wealthy, successful, happy, is just as ridiculous and silly and really stupid as living your life to look enlightened, or living your life to look peaceful, or living your life to look anything. Because to whom are you trying to put on the show for? Only for someone who can't see. Anyone who's surrendered to freedom isn't concerned with what anything looks like as such. That doesn't mean there's no attention to aesthetic. It means there's no point in using aesthetic for self-deception. There's no need to try to look enlightened. If true enlightenment is here, the joy of it is so great that there's no way that you even want to touch the simple appearance of enlightenment. If you have the choice between looking enlightened and actually being enlightened, you choose the real thing, even if the real thing looks unenlightened. If you had the choice between choosing real freedom and what looks like freedom, but isn't, you choose real freedom. Everybody who's sane chooses real freedom. And the only people that you can fool by posturing the false freedom or the look-like freedom that isn't freedom are only other people who are playing that game of looking free but aren't free, you see? Real free people are not impressed by the image of false freedom. Real enlightened people are not impressed by the image of pretended enlightenment. Real successful people, if you want to use that word, or real wealthy people, if you want to, are not impressed by false images of wealth and success. You see? The real thing is the real thing, and the real thing knows the real thing. And the real thing has no interest in posturing, in pretending to be anything other than what it is. To anyone or for anyone. As a means of, what people say, fake it till you make it. No. Fuck no. Fuck no. That's just another way of saying, I'll be free when I'm free. No, you be free now. You resolve to give yourself to freedom now. To give yourself to joy now. Now. Not when this condition is met or that condition is met. And you have the freedom to surrender to freedom. Now, that's why it's freedom. It's free from all condition. And so to the ego, it seems totally unfair. But only because there's a mythology, a social lore that says you've got to earn your freedom, you've got to work for it, you've got to make enough money to earn it, you've got to get enough status socially to deserve it. No. No, 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 nope. Not even a little bit. Nope. You're here. It's yours. It's not just yours, it's you. So you can surrender to that. And don't worry. Don't worry. It takes everything to stay upright. It takes everything to stay afloat. It takes everything to keep surrendering moment to moment. And you'll be tested. Because look at the world. Everybody has some different philosophy or notion or idea or concept about what is freedom, what is enlightenment, what is love. And people with their philosophies and their opinions and their concepts and ideas love to argue, love to debate, love to play devil's advocate, love to, get trapped and to set up traps. And your job is to simply float above it, walk through it. It's not, don't touch it. If someone wants to argue, let them argue. If someone wants to, get angry, let them get angry. If somebody wants to yell and scream, let them yell and scream. But you don't touch that. There's nothing to yell and scream about. There's nothing to prove. There's nothing to apologize for. There's nothing to argue about. You just tell the truth. And if it's heard, it's heard. If it's not heard, it's not heard. You can't make it be heard. So finally you can say yes, no, and stop. You can say, move please, get out of the way. That's all. You don't have to. You don't have to. So ultimately you can't say what freedom is. You have to be it. Live it. Let it live you. Let it live your life. And that way you show all who come near what freedom is. They can taste it. They can taste the freedom and the joy and the love pouring off of you. And they'll do with it what they will. Or it will do with them what it wills. That's the great mystery of it. It's not in our control. There's nothing to control. All right. And with that, I leave you. Not really, but boom. Perfect. Okay. Oh, yes. Adieu. And until we meet again, I'm always with you. I'm always with you. Love. I love you.